In today's video, we're looking at all the latest NHL news and rumors around the league. Tonight's rumor mill, we're focused on teams like the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Montreal Canadiens, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Buffalo Sabres. We also have some new updates as well on Evander Kane, Arturi Lehkonen, as well as the RFA situations involving Jeremy Swayman and Cole Perfetti. Plus, we have a lot more details on the new Fanatics jerseys for the NHL this season, what all the different levels are, what they're going to cost. We'll discuss what they look like, go through the prices coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here tonight. First up, I want to take a look at the new jerseys coming out for Fanatics. Of course, it'll be the first year with the Fanatics contract. I know some people are looking forward to that, some are not. I know I've got a mixed reviews, you could say, of the experience with Fanatics here that I've talked about on this channel. Of course, I've worked with Fanatics here a little bit through NHL Shop. And like I said, I know some people are not loving them as a retailer, and some of them don't mind them, but all in all, the fact of the matter is they've got a long-term contract now with the NHL, and I certainly hope that they do a good job, and I do hope that obviously the quality holds up here. So we got 4 different levels of jerseys, and I'll give you a screenshot here to kind of show you the levels. The most expensive is the Authentic Pro. This is be like equivalent to what the pro players actually wear on the ice. They're going to be priced in US dollars at $425. Of course, these are in American dollars. I know I have a pretty large chunk of Canadian viewers on this channel, so keep in mind the prices in Canada will be a little bit different, obviously a little bit more because these are American prices. After Authentic Pro, you've got the premium jerseys, which are 180 US dollars if you want a blank, 230 US dollars if you want to customize it with the name and player, name and number. Then there's the breakaway jerseys, which are 135 US dollars blank, 175 US dollars custom with name and number. And then there's the practice quality jerseys for 120. So I know it seems like a lot of money, especially, obviously the breakaway and the practice one's not too bad. The practice one, I'm not really sure how to feel about that. I don't think I would be interested myself in buying those. If I was going to get a jersey, I'd probably, ideally, love the Authentic Pros, but most people don't want to pay that much money. I know I would love to have them, but I don't know that I'd want to spend, over 500 Canadian bucks. I mean, that's a lot of dough, because 425 US is going to be around 500 or more Canadian. So it's going to be some expensive jerseys. So obviously, like I said, I hope the quality holds up. And we'll certainly get some reviews here on the channel. Like I said, I do have an affiliate with NHL Shop, so I'll be posting a lot of deals. I'll be curious for feedback as well, around the quality and everything like that. Certainly, I know I want to hear from people on these types of things. Clearly, like I said, it's a brand that I do work with, but it's, like I said, because of the fact of their affiliation with the NHL, I kind of, if I want to promote jerseys at all, they hold the rights now. So we'll have to hope that they do a good job, and we'll see. I'd love to know some feedback down in the comments below, and I'll certainly have my affiliate link as well in case anybody does want to do some shopping. Because keep in mind, if you do use my link to buy anything, it does help support the channel. So, and if you do that and there are issues, I do want to know about it as well. So certainly let me know. Evander Kane at Edmonton, we got some updates today that he had his surgery. He had it on Friday in New York City, and we don't have a firm timeline here, but according to Elliotte Friedman, he's saying that the earliest we would likely see Kane would be January, February, but that's not a given right now. Is it possible he could miss the entire season? It is really, if you think about it. If they're targeting February, and look at it when the season ends, it's not completely unreasonable to think that maybe he misses the whole season. But at this point, he's had his surgery. He will be eligible for LTIR if necessary, and we'll have to wait and see. But he's definitely looking at a long return. Like I said, the list of things they were cleaning up for him were quite lengthy. So both adductors, multiple hernias, and ab muscles. So certainly lots going on there. Big recovery for Evander Kane coming up here. At the very least, he should be available for playoffs. At least it sounds that way. So we'll see Wait further updates as he recovers. One other player as well that we had heard likely wouldn't be available to start the season was an important player for the Avalanche, Arturi Lehkonen, and there was comments from Nathan MacKinnon, which I think he might have just let slip or what have you. Maybe players don't always know what the team has made available to the media and whatnot, but he mentioned that Lehkonen wouldn't be available to start the season. But now, according to head coach Jared Bednar, that has not been ruled out. So according to what he's saying is that, I guess they can't guarantee anything. It is possible that he misses the start of the year, but they haven't ruled out the fact that he could play. As long as he gets in some practices and can kind of be up to speed, he might be able to play the opening game. But at this point, obviously the Avalanche, like I said, they're without captain Gabriel Landeskog. We don't really know for sure what his long-term status is. They hope he'll play this year, but again, not at the beginning. Then there's the whole situation with Nichushkin. And then you get Lehkonen's injury. So if he's able to go, they're going to be wanting him in there. So we'll see. Obviously, like another important piece there in the top couple lines for Colorado. As far as the remaining restricted free agents, Elliotte Friedman on the broadcast saying, obviously we got preseason hockey back, which is another big piece of news. I'm sure people over the last between last night and tonight watching some games, which is great. I know right now as I record this video, it was during the intermission of the Maple Leafs and Senators broadcast that I was watching here on Sportsnet. And Elliotte Friedman had some updates on the RFA situations. He says on Jeremy Swayman that there's really no change. And obviously we haven't really heard much on Swayman over the past few days. And basically status quo, like no real changes there. So again, this is seeming like it could be a really long, drawn-out process. So hopefully for Boston's sake it's not. But obviously they're going with Brendan Bussey and Corpusalo. Well, could be your tandem to start the year. So no real updates there, just nothing to report on. But of course, we talked yesterday, which was interesting. If you missed yesterday's video, there's some that are questioning, and Friedman was asked by some people around the league, do you think this could lead to a trade? And he was saying that the Bruins don't want to go there right now. But then we also looked at comments from Joe Haggerty suggesting that, if the Bruins could have a good start to the season and prove they can win without Swayman, then maybe they do. But it's hard. We're a ways from that right now, right? We're still in the preseason, still in training camp. I think that's a little premature, but it's the longer it goes, the more likely it could happen, I guess you could say. Right now, on Cole Perfetti, Friedman did say that he's heard there's been some progress, but it doesn't sound like it was significant enough to really make it so that anything is imminent. Sometimes you hear updates about there's a few obstacles overcome or a little bit of progress has been made, but it doesn't really mean that a deal is ultimately imminent. He said he wasn't aware of anything that could be announced tonight or anything. So clearly, still more work to be done there, but certainly it sounds like there's a little bit more optimism that that'll get done a little bit sooner than Swayman. At least that's the way things are trending, of course, right now. Now, in the rumor mill, like I said, a few teams we want to look at: Columbus, Montreal, Edmonton, Buffalo, Philly. With Columbus, I'm looking at an article from Sportsnet from Luke Fox. Obviously looking at the fact that the Blue Jackets have a lot of cap space, and they are theoretically under the cap floor, and looking at some options for them to get there. One, obviously the most logical idea is that they make a trade and they pick up a high quality, high impact, high salary player. Obviously, like I said, they traded Patrick Laine, who was a big contract to Montreal. And then, of course, right after that, not long after, is when the tragic accident happened with Johnny Gaudreau. So, that puts them down two significant players. And, at this point, they have lots of interesting assets, and there's also lots of players that are, that they may be able to take advantage of a player here that, maybe that the value is not quite where it needs to be, for example. But a high-impact player, if you take a look around the NHL, there's definitely some names that are out there, but it's hard to say exactly who they could target. But yes, absolutely. They unfortunately are not going to be a strong team this year. They're obviously losing a couple of key players through the offseason. And obviously, to go find another one is easier said than done. But yes, that's an absolute option. Number two is they hit the waiver wire, because in the probably next week sometime, as training camp starts, you start to see teams make cuts, that they're going to be putting players through waivers. A lot of the players that get cut are going to need waivers. You're going to probably see a lot of the ones in the beginning that when cuts are first starting to become made, it's more likely junior players sent back or PTO players released. And some players are in PTOs on amateur tryouts too, that they're not necessarily going to be getting an NHL contract and all that. So, you're going to see that. And you've already seen it a little bit. A few teams have actually sent some players back to junior as well. I think Toronto sent back 4 or 5 yesterday. But there's going to be, as we get further into next week and stuff, you're going to start to see some players cut from training camp that are needing waivers to go down to the American Hockey League. And so they could certainly hit the waiver wire with a vengeance and go after, kind of wait and see. Not like they're going to go after the first player or two on day one or anything, but they could certainly go after some guys that teams might think they can sneak through or would be willing to give up. I just don't have any trade options, right? So there is that. So the waiver wire could be their friend in that sense. Or instead of going after a high impact player, maybe they take advantage of their cap space, kind of weaponize it, if you will, and take on a bad contract from a team that really, because there's enough teams around the NHL that are pretty desperate for space and that are really up against it and want to make moves but are, not able to. And they could maybe take advantage of a team to get some sweeteners to take a bad contract, right? So if you look around the NHL, there's not quite as many as there at one point in time. It seemed like there was a lot. Obviously there's going to be different opinions on different contracts, but there's definitely players out there that teams would be willing to give up if they could, if the sweetener price isn't too crazy. So yeah, the Blue Jackets definitely have their options. They're definitely been very active from what we're hearing. Domidale having lots of conversations, but nothing real close here as of yet. So we'll see. They have some time to be patient and make sure they find the right player or two that kind of fits well with their team. As well. The Oilers, I know there's lots of talk, especially now that we know that Kane is going to be out long term. And, even though we don't know 100% he's gone for the entire year, it could be possible. And I'm not sure. I guess we'll kind of see how they manage their cap, because it could be a big kind of clue to what they're estimating or thinking there in that sense. They want to add a top 4 right shot defenseman is what the belief is here. A name that keeps coming up is Philadelphia Flyers righty Rasmus Ristolainen. So we know that he could be made available. We've heard about Rasmus Andersson in Calgary, and that, maybe that's an option for them too. We've heard David Savard in Montreal, but definitely, the Ristolainen's name has been coming up more and more lately, because the belief is, as much as like Savard might be a great option for them, how many minutes do they want him playing, for example, and do they really want somebody that is going to be there just as a rental? It seems like, from what we've heard, the belief is that they might be more inclined to want somebody with term, so that they can hopefully find a player like Ekholm who can come in as a good fit and stick around for a few years. So that's why Ristolainen's name kind of continues to come up there. So we'll see. In Buffalo as well, Elliot Friedman on his podcast the other day mentioned that before Peyton Krebs signed, there was a lot of belief that the Sabres were trending towards trading him, and that things were not necessarily imminent, but getting close. And it seemed like a lot of the trade talk they were having, he was a name that was in play a lot. It's believed that the Sabres would love to be able to add a top 6 forward. I know they have a lot on the blue line. They seem to be pretty comfortable with what they have between the pipes. But top 6 forward, like another scoring forward with experience, would be probably somebody that would be a preferable addition to this club. Obviously, they bought out Skinner and moved on from him. So the Sabres haven't been linked to a specific top 6 forward, but with the fact that Krebs signed, just like we've heard with guys like Nick Robertson and others, just because they signed a contract doesn't mean 100% they won't get moved. It's still hard to envision exactly where Krebs fits in this lineup. I was a little bit surprised by the contract that they did give him, but if they can find a deal for a top 6 forward, I honestly do believe Krebs is a player they would be willing to include. So we'll see what they do, but there was lots of chatter around him beforehand, and certainly, like I said, it's still a type of player that they'd like to add. And in Montreal, we've heard lots about the Habs lately. Been a very popular team in the rumor mill. Lots of Montreal media speculating about what they're going to do and how they're going to, set this team up for the season. And I know another Habs reporter, Matthias Brunet, was saying that he believes the next player that the Habs are going to move is right shot defenseman Justin Barron. That it feels like that he still has pretty good value. Obviously, they have more than enough right shot defensemen in the system here to kind of push the envelope a little bit. You get Savard as the veteran, but you've got guys like Reinbacher coming. You've got guys like Mailloux coming. Gouli's been playing a bit on his offside. There's some options there. You're going to have Lane Hudson, who's kind of right now looks amazing, so I don't know that you can really put Lane Hudson in the minors, and you may have to have a guy, at least one, play their offside or the weak side or what have you. Hard to say, but they definitely have a plethora of young D. And he feels that Justin Barron would be your next guy to get moved. Looking at the trade he mentions for Nils Lundqvist out of New York to Dallas a couple seasons back, where he was a late first round pick, and they got a first rounder for him. And he wonders if Montreal can get that type of return, even if it's a late first rounder amongst one of the contending teams, that might be an offer that's too good to pass up. We've heard lots about the moves Montreal is going to make. Like, I do think Savard likely moves later on in the year. Either that or he finishes out the year and it's not re-signed. I think Savard's last year will be in Montreal this year. We heard about, talk about Armia, Dvorak. These guys are expiring deals, could be moved. I wouldn't have thought Justin Barron would be one of the names being brought up here by different media members as the next to go. Yesterday we talked about the possibility could the Habs still be very interested in Trevor Zegras, and if they are, they're probably going to have to move a defenseman in that deal, although the Anaheim Ducks do have a lot of interesting young D. I don't know exactly what the request would be from Anaheim in a Zegras-type trade, but, at the same time, obviously those guys are all going to be generating different values, but, Justin Barron, whether or not he's included in a Zegras trade or somewhere else. So let me know your thoughts on Justin Barron. Do you think he'd be getting a good enough value that the Habs would be able to move this guy, or should they even consider that? Let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the early preseason action in the NHL. It's nice to have hockey back, not only in training camp, but obviously in games now to watch as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.